Good morning and welcome to day 2 in Atlanta, Georgia for the third iteration of the Dreamhack Atlanta Collegiate Invitational. 2026 brings us a lot of new teams, a lot of new faces, but one that I think you'll recognize is Mr. Bepic. My name is DJ TJ. What a pleasure it is to be right back here in Atlanta with you, my friend.
It feels good to be here. We do it before the cast, gotta pump the fist, but man, I was watching yesterday from home, working, sitting there, doing contracts for work, and I was like, please just let me get to Dreamhack. Had to miss day 1, but I was watching the results pour in, the multiple game 5s, the hype energy that this tournament always brings. It feels great to at least be here for day 2.
Well, on that note, how about we talk about the groups, because we're going to keep things moving pretty swiftly throughout the day. So on the note of those groups, there was a few shock and awe results, but what I wonder is what is more surprising, the Kennesaw reverse sweep over Conestoga or WCTC 3-0ing Kennesaw to end the day off?
Straight up, I think the reverse sweep of Kennesaw is a bit more surprising. WCTC, I mean, they showed it at Dreamhack last year, I guess, in the fall when we had Dreamhack Atlanta in October, that they are a LAN team. They know how to play here, and with Kennesaw State having the up and down season that they have all throughout the spring, I don't expect consistency to just all of a sudden be found for Kennesaw. So the fact that they are reverse sweeping after going down 2-0 against a good team like Conestoga, you know, a little surprising.
I think the hard part as well is that, you know, me and you being power rankers as we are, I think there was a time where we would say, yeah, Conestoga should actually be the second place team in this group by a mile, but this is the glory of having an event in May, right? You get all these teams in their full season form. WCTC, we spoke with Coach Ryan on stream. We spoke with Ty twice on stream. They look incredible because they are playing to be incredible. They are training to be incredible. They have been grinding, and it shows today. So without further ado, how about we throw up the bracket as well in the meantime? And now Winthrop goes 9-1. Nothing shocking in that group. Bruton Parker gets revenge on Daytona State from the SEL land. They get them in Game 5 in that series, I do believe.
I love the Southeastern rivalries that we have developing this past school year. Bruton Parker being in all the lands they possibly can. Daytona State trying to do the same. They're one of the newer faces on this bracket. Probably them and Conestoga, the freshest logo on a bracket like this. But they are quickly learning the ins and outs of LAN, and they're going to be taught by some very experienced veterans in that first 4-5 seed matchup. I cannot wait for what we got on stream.
Not to mention there is a world where Bruton Parker plays Bruton Parker for a winner's semifinal and then a winner's final spot, which, granted, it is a brand new day. WCTC should be A-okay, but also at the same time, I mean, Bruton Parker Orange also has some CS2 players who are going to be in a show match.
They've actually forfeited that match. So WCTC actually already have the win, but they are playing it out right now. So I can't blame you for forgetting, because we've been hearing Bruton Parker Orange screaming from the other side of the venue, getting loud, even though this is basically just a scrimmage for these two.
That's a good point. They literally told me that, but it's been a long day. So, and we're, you know, it's already 10:30. So on that note, looks pretty dang good against Winthrop, but when Winthrop, you know, remembered they were Winthrop, it was a pretty awkward game 3 and 4 where they wrapped up that series. But Kennesaw has everything to prove coming into today, and it starts right here, right now.
All right, let's do this thing. No TNT for Kennesaw if you did miss day 1, but Dylan, very much an apt substitute. He's gotten plenty of LAN reps with this Kennesaw State roster across the season, and so he is happy to fill in an event like this. But Daytona State LAN boys themselves made a run to top 3 at the most recent SEL LAN just about a month ago now, showing what they can do in person. So Kennesaw State got to be careful, but it seems like everyone's kind of warming up right now.
One thing that's so special about the way Daytona State plays the game is that they are such an even team. Now, granted, they're not what you would call professionals like Winthrop. They're an even team in that sense, but Daytona State, even in the sense they can fully trust one another. Mentally, they are one of the most formidable teams at this event, and one of the most shocking odd teams of the entire season, I would argue. But granted, there's also times where, especially early in the morning, players get awkward, you overcommit, you make a bad play on the side wall, and all of a sudden Kennesaw's bouncing around in front of your net.
And even with the inconsistencies of this season for Kennesaw State, I mean, they have a ton of experience on this lineup. That goes without saying when you see names like Flitz and Kronovi playing alongside each other. So even though they may have had a bit of a rough spring, granted what we know they're capable of, this LAN could be theirs. I mean, Kennesaw State, former winners of the Dreamhack Atlanta Collegiate Invitational. So let's see what happens, but Daytona State trying to hit back hard.
This is the early morning plays I'm talking about. Something that should be routine. Granted, not the easiest save for Mr. Kronovi on the backside, but also Gio, a very well-placed shot. Attacking that top right corner always makes it tough.
Yeah, you put hard shots on target this early in the morning. Good things are bound to happen, no matter who you are in this sort of LAN environment. This is still early goings. I mean, these, I think, first-round matchups for teams playing on LAN, when you have the typical LAN schedule of playing early on Saturdays, maybe just as hard as like a lower final or a grand final. Like, you got to wake up fast.
It's also worth mentioning that Kennesaw, a team that even in the year that they won this event, they also had a pretty slow start, had some big scares, and then last year had a pretty rough loss here and there as well. But I think this is the first year they have actually had a full series loss that actually has made us, I would argue, a little concerned about the way that Flitz and Kronovi have been playing the game. Dylan's looked good, Dylan's filled his role, and Dylan's actually been the one to score when needed at certain times. And granted, I will also add that whenever Flitz started to wake up at about, I think, 3 or 4 o'clock yesterday, basically, he took control whenever he wanted to, but 10:30 a.m., man, it's hard.
Well, let's hope for Kennesaw's sake that they're still playing when that time rolls around, because they will need Flitz if they want to go deep in this sort of stacked tournament. Tons of LAN experience up and down the board on the brackets, and a lot of teams that are familiar with playing at the Georgia World Congress Center as well. It's being the 3rd time we've hosted the Collegiate Invitational here at Dreamhack Atlanta. So, you know, you got a lot going against you if you are new to this environment, but man, Daytona State fighting hard at the moment. A lot of good pressure on that Kennesaw State net. They are going direct for that orange goal a lot of the time with these counterattacks. And Kennesaw State, we've already seen them succumb to a bad read on their goal line. They really do have to lock in defense, especially in transition.
I think if you're Daytona State, you're pretty content with the way this game is playing out right now. Mechanically, you're taking a few bad whiffs. You might get bumped at the same time, and Gio goes the wrong way. He is a natural-born scorer, but I guess it goes both ways.
Yeah, not a good time to let that surface. On the goal line, Sullis gets bumps. Gio has to react fast, so maybe a little bit of panic right there. But hey, an own goal for an own goal. Daytona State benefited from Kronovi's misread. Now Kennesaw State get one back as Gio puts it in his own net. So, you know, an eye for an eye. It's still a 1-goal game with 2 minutes left.
I cursed it. That's definitely on me. I was going to say that Daytona State should be content because they're controlling the midfield well in this last minute, but then all of a sudden, that goal comes through. That's about as 10 a.m. as it gets here in Atlanta. But with 2 minutes to go, still time to go to work. And one thing that Daytona State's been a little lacking in this game is the demos, and that's what opens up the opportunities every single time.
And these guys are playing right behind the casting booth as well, so I am sure that scream let loose by Smooth was audible on the microphone. He's excited to see that one go in. It's an important equalizer the way this game has been going. Goals, you can't really bank on goals arriving. Yes, we've seen 4, but there's been a lot of inconsistency that have led to the scores, the own goals, the open nets, and so you really do have to get excited when you are able to score in a game 1 like this, especially to tie it up if you're Daytona State.
Open net once again, and Kennesaw will punish, and that is basically what I'm going to argue is 3 open nets that Daytona State let open.
That's rough. I mean, Gio right here is the man on the scene. Instead of turning back towards his net, he tries to kind of challenge, realizes he can't, goes back towards the corner, and he was the last man right there. So DSC not looking clean, Kennesaw State not looking clean. So this is a scrap fest. You have to figure out a way to get out of this game 1 alive.
Also worth mentioning the duality of how WCTC played this Kennesaw matchup versus how Daytona State played the Winthrop matchup. Daytona State was not afraid to be overly egotistical at times, play very fast, play very quick. That play style does not tend to work this early in the morning. And WCTC, something that they talked about on stream was slowing the game down, trying to match the game to your pace, and that's normally what Kennesaw and Winthrop do very well. We don't have a team that's absurdly egotistical at this LAN, so this playstyle for Daytona State, it's more of a gamble than I think it would normally be at other LANs. But here they come, 2v1, Gio, shot on net, top right is going to be a little too far off. The demo goes in favor of Dylan, very awkward for Sullis, but he does grab the mid.
Well, good news going forward for Daytona State is that their passing game in the midfield is still looking clean. The passes are connecting, but you want that one back after Gio. Now a minute left with Kennesaw State on the front foot with a goal in hand. That's good news for Owl fans out there, but with a pass out, Sullis on the ball with plenty of boost, can make things happen, has Smooth in tow. He's trying to get the ball to Gio, but doesn't make contact. So Daytona State get hung up in that Kennesaw State corner, though still have a chance to grab possession here late with 30 seconds left.
Solis trying to free up some room, but his teammates are getting thrashed around on the backside. 25 seconds now. Solis, room to go to work over Flitz, but Flitz, if there's anything you learned from yesterday, you've got to start winning these challenges, and Kennesaw does it in bunches. That's 3 straight now that are uncontested. Solis will get one out, but Gio's nowhere near that play. However, there will be a chance, but Gio actually is too far ahead of the play, so Smooth, it's all down to him. 5 seconds now. Need to find a teammate on the side. That one will be awkward for Solis. It will go flying off the Kennesaw side. Gio now off the corner. This is a chance they can get one more. Fake for one. No way. The play was right. Give them an extra second, and I would almost guarantee we go overtime, but a calculated gamble that doesn't go their way.
Needed a draft at the end there to pick that ball up off the ground. Just too low to get a realistic shot off. So Daytona State find themselves falling short in game 1, but shout out Kennesaw State for weathering that storm. Yes, they scored on a lot of open nets, but hey, they were capitalizing on opponents' mistakes, and in a game 1 like that, that's sometimes how you have to get by, and the Owls do so.
Not sure what more out of Kennesaw for a 10 a.m. game, right? You made your touches. Now, granted, you gave away an own goal, but then you turn that into another own goal from Daytona State. So I'm going to flip my point. Kennesaw's playing just fine this morning. Will they need to play better to win this series? I think that's absolutely fair. But Daytona State have set the bar, unfortunately, pretty dang low right now, and it's not a game of limbo.
Yeah, if you didn't know anything about teams playing early in the mornings, on land, in an uncomfortable environment, you would think that was some pretty poor Rocket League. But sometimes that's what happens. That's what you have to be ready for to play on land. It's why playing on land requires a different skill set from teams than playing online. It's why you see teams like Bruton Parker, Kennesaw State, a lot of the teams that are competing here this weekend go to almost every single land that they can feasibly travel to because they want those reps in preparation for late spring lands like this.
And as we keep driving home as well, this is not any ordinary land.
No.
It's a 3rd iteration, but I would argue this is easily the busiest iteration of the Collegiate Invitational here at Dreamhack because there is IEM. There's multiple COD Pro events. We can hear COD pop off throughout the day. However, the soundproofing for IEM is pretty dang good, I will add. But a lot of the teams themselves were very much involved in those tournaments yesterday, so maybe even hard of hearing coming in today. That's how loud it's been in the venue.
Yeah, my voice is a little bit scratchy from that Navi Vitality Map 3 yesterday. IEM Atlanta. I was thoroughly enjoying that, getting here a little bit late, but hey, you got to enjoy Dreamhack while you're here. I mean, it's all about playing well at the tournament, doing what you can at the Collegiate Invitational, while also trying to have a good time. Remember why you are here competing in the first place, having fun playing a video game at the end of the day. And Kennesaw State, inches away from having a bit of fun at the start of game 2, but no opening goal provided. It's still 0-0.
Let's call Dylan off there, and it was the right decision, but again, unfortunate execution. And so now somehow Daytona State turned what should have been a 3v1 into an awkward counterattack that Dylan gets a 50 out of in the meantime. So Kronovi will be called off once again by Flitz, who is bumped off. That's one thing that Daytona State has done really well is their drive-through and, I guess, fly-through bumps and demos, and they take Kennesaw out of the play, making them uncomfortable. That's what you have to do to try and take down a team with, again, professional experience. I mean, even Dylan is sitting in Division 2 and NECC playing some of the best in the top 32, the top 48. I would even argue higher than that on their peak days. So it's very hard to get them off their rocker, but Dylan's still swinging around to find that one.
Yeah, I mean, when your A-team substitute is constantly in your DMs asking when he's going to be ranked top 48 and actually has a pretty good case, you know you're in a good spot. For teams like Kennesaw State, like Bruton Parker, with deep programs. And Kennesaw's showing that right now. They're starting to become a much more effective triple threat on the field with how consistent Dylan has been in the last several months of play. But right there, diving and missing. And so Daytona State is allowed to keep their offense rolling here. 2 minutes into a scoreless game 2. But Kennesaw State have had a lot of the pressure here on Forbidden Temple.
Both teams really starting to warm up here in front of our eyes in game 2, but also a matchup like this favors Kennesaw, where their competitive ceilings and floors, I would argue, are higher at times. Even Dylan right now finding a crazy play to Kronovi off the back wall. This is Kennesaw getting warm in front of our eyes. That's dangerous for Daytona State. And also, of all the matches to be yelling behind us right now, it's the one that means absolutely nothing. Bruton Parker JV's having a ball.
Yeah, that goes without saying. Whether it means nothing, whether they're playing against literally nobody across the pitch, I think they're probably still going to be screaming. If they were in an online ranked match, I think they're probably still getting hyped on land. That's how the Bruton Parker program operates, and those guys get loud for both themselves and their A-team. So imagine that'll be the case, seeing how far the A-team of Bruton Parker goes along today. Their opponents will have to deal with the barrage of Bruton Parker Orange and Kojo, of course, the director, yelling at them all throughout Saturday and hopefully Sunday if you're a Bruton Parker fan. But here we go, Kennesaw State in a great scoring position that they will still managed to get over the line. The ball hung on the goal line for a second, but it is put over the line by Flitz.
A great save from Gio, but just barely still overcommits on the jump. Just had to put all the momentum possible to keep it out, and then he goes flying past the play. So once again, awkward third man positioning, but also a whiff before that play as well off the back wall. And so on that note, Kennesaw will take a lead here. Again, these types of games, these slow-paced, non-mechanical showcases of the best of fives, these favor Kennesaw. They want the game to be simple. They want the game to be slow. Daytona State's got to change something now.
I mean, so much experience in this Kennesaw State lineup that they can slow things down and really analyze what's going on. That sets up guys like Flitz, who, with all of the mechanics that we know he's got in his toolkit, is get extra touches, throw defenses off, and set up his teammates for success. But maybe it's Dylan looking for a skim down the field off a Kronovi pass. A lot of mechs on this KSU lineup, but unable to flex them right there. Hardest part of your game to find early on the LAN.
Almost a minute to go now. Daytona State still looking for these drive-through plays, and they are finding boosts, but again, the next play up is not exactly there. Kronovi has had what almost feels like hundreds of free balls in the midfield. Also trying to fake one to keep this one in the midfield. Bump is through. 50's through one as well at the top side. Kronovi can't find it, and it's Dylan coming through to sweep and get that one out of the way. I cannot believe that we are still sitting at 1-0.
Gio, I swear, has a curse on him sometimes when it comes to just getting the final 10% of the ball over the goal line. Again, so close to equalizing, but doesn't find it. Now he's trying to set up Solis for a pop, who will get through Dylan, but you still have Flitz and Kronovi, the meat of the defense, to get through. And it's the first man challenge of Flitz. That will be successful. Pass across, finds Gio, but again, just off with the shot. This time it is the defense's fault. Got in the way, forcing the ball off to the side, but man, DSC need a goal now.
Kronovi can't find the follow-up touch. It was almost a goal for Kennesaw, so here we go. You might get a chance here if you can win this 50-50. Kronovi, though, however, absolutely kicks it up directly vertical, and so it's awkward to follow. Smooth. Met by Kronovi all over again, who's got room, who's trying to go low, but Gio does read it, but all of this is for what? If you can't get out of your half. Solis trying to work his way through, does them a one, but what's next for Smooth? Smooth's got room middle, has a teammate waiting, has another teammate bumping. Awkward touch for Kronovi, who's actually going to get right back on it. Great 50 from Gio, but no one's got boost. Flitz just has to tap it over, doesn't stay with the ball though. Chance for Smooth, Kronovi's there, redirect off the backboard. Is that the open net? Oh my gosh, it is! And somehow, someway, that's another goal. This time we get overtime.
Well, that'll wake you up. A slight mistouch from Kronovi right there sets up a no boost Smooth for a 0-second score. And we've got overtime just like that in a game two that seemed like it was fully in Kennesaw's control. Daytona State had life.
Dylan and Kronovi both had a 50-50 bare minimum there, but what shocks me about that play, as we're almost going out of overtime so quickly, what shocks me about that just last moment is that's one of the rare big flaws in communication we've seen from Kennesaw. Even when they did have some of their bad or their worst games yesterday, they were going to try and make it all worth nothing, as Flitz could try and call game right here up and over one, but Kronovi cannot beat out Solis. 30 seconds to go now, and Kennesaw looking strong.
Yeah, they've got themselves on the front foot, but Daytona State are lethal in transition, so the Owls have to be careful about how much they overextend in offense. They've had several good looks that are forcing double commits off the Daytona State goal line. Kronovi goes backboard. Solis misses, but still hangs in the air off the back wall, exhausting a lot of boost, but still getting a lot of touches. They're a big touch to clear the zone for DSC. Now Flitz moving ahead with plenty in the tank, and he can do a lot in a position like this, but falls to the ground, exhausts his own resources, and now he got everyone fighting for boost scraps on the pitch.
Gio reset under one, has one more around, but it's just ever so awkward. However, Kennesaw bumping each other. I don't think Solis was able to react in time, so Flitz on 10 boost. We'll take a 50 there. Also gets a slight bump. Kronovi and Dylan both have enough room to make the next play, and a double commit going both ways. Solis off the corner now. Dylan just waiting there for it. Is absolutely thrown on the top side of the map. However, around one, Gio and Solis work together in Daytona State. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning indeed, and welcome to Atlanta. You know, group stage, I had a couple players tell me that it was for seeding. That was a warm-up day yesterday. You gotta wake up for Saturday and Sunday, though, because this is where it really, really counts. And if Daytona State go out of that game, too, without scoring a goal, I worry about them dipping down to potentially a reverse sweep bid, a lower bracket run, whatever it may have been after the fact. But they reverse that fortune on 0 seconds with an electrifying score. And now we've got a tied-up series.
Again, very similar to game one. Daytona State, a very slow start. I don't think a lot was going the way that they would have desired. I mean, think about the Gio goal line, say that Dylan got. I mean, that ball is what, 85, 90% of the way in, and then Dylan swoops in and throws that one out after Kronovi couldn't read it as well. Like, plays like that, I wonder if they're going to start to add up in which direction. I wonder how close Daytona State will continue to push the manifold of scoring in this series. And granted, again, big game to get back into it. That's the bare minimum here, but I still want to see more from both teams. But again, Scrappy Rocket League is what we're here for at this point.
Important stat on that stat sheet right now. 64 ball touches for Flitz in that game. No one else touched 50. And that's how Flitz likes to play. He likes to do everything he possibly can on the ball, but that requires a lot of resources if you're Kennesaw State. And so they are trying to feed their offense through Flitz right now. But early on in the morning at LAN, I don't know how much we can reinforce this point. It's tough to be the Mechie star that Flitz normally is. So if Kennesaw State are able to get their Mechie star going, they've got a real shot about closing this series out, especially if Daytona State's defensive woes continue. They managed to escape from game 2 despite a lot of awkward double commits and awkward moments on their back line, but you can't afford that going forward for very much longer.
It was an issue yesterday as well, talking about the mechanics getting started, even for Daytona State against Winthrop.
Yeah.
Had a very slow start, then all of a sudden Gio comes alive, and that's what I'm the most worried about, regardless of who you're rooting for, is I think Gio and Flitz and their performances in the next 5 minutes are going to be very telling of where we're going in games 3, 4, and maybe even 5.
All right, now Daytona State trying to set themselves up early to keep momentum rolling, but Kronovi collecting. He tried to get that ball through Gio, but that's an impressive mid-air adjustment using his flip to block, and now Sullis with a mind game on Flitz right there, forcing a whiff out of the front man of KSU, and now allowing a Daytona State transition that required both the efforts of Dylan and Kronovi, and that's still not enough. DSC do keep things rolling.
There's the pace, there's the pressure. This is what you're relying on. You're relying on Kennesaw to make their own mistakes in communication, in rotation. They double up twice in their own corner and on their front post. The back post is wide open. And Daytona State, with a minute of gameplay here in game 3, you will take it every single time.
Yes, you will, especially how much of a grind games 1 and 2 have been in this series. Not scoring a goal in game 2 until 0 seconds, and then closing it out in a close overtime. Daytona State, sometimes momentum-based team. They can definitely collect themselves if things start to go haywire, but they will feed on positive energy if it's given to them. And right now, that is all I'm seeing out of the Daytona State camp. So let's see what Gio can do for us. 30 boost in hand. He beats 2, but he's still got that third man to worry about, and Kronovi's good for the touch.
Room to go to work for Kennesaw. They love these kind of lagging touches in the midfield, but are having a rough time following them more than maybe 50% of the time. And Daytona State can use that for counterattacks. Gio, corner lead, one more for him. Oh my gosh! Pin it on the map. The Gio is for geography.
That's what I'm talking about. Look at this. You know, as soon as he sets up with that first touch, that he's got a chance, a player like Gio, and he makes good on it. That's the sort of goal that can help propel this Daytona State team to maybe close things out if they can keep things rolling. Multi-goal lead in game 3. Whoa. Now let's see what goes on the next couple of minutes as Kennesaw State, of course, they've got an answer. These grizzled vets weren't going to let that Gio goal fly.
I thought for just a second Gio was going to not only make that goal happen, but then get away through 2 Kennesaw players. But regardless, Kennesaw needed one quick. You take some of the loudest teams in this venue and you start to bring them down a few pegs. You have to do that against Daytona State. It's also worth noting that Daytona State has some media personnel with them as well. They're the deepest we've ever seen them, Bepic, and they almost find a third there.
Hey, that rocks. This is the team that belongs on camera. We've learned that this spring semester. Daytona State building a name for themselves in the CRL scene, but you're not going to get much positive notability with plays like that. How about this from Flitz? Really great setup for Dylan. The shot is denied by Daytona State's defense, and no one's able to clean up there, even with the ball right there for the taking. Still 2-1, Daytona State holding on to this 1-goal lead, maybe adding 2. It's Sullis wins the race to the ball, and there's 3.
They are right back to it. That's what Daytona State will always do, and didn't even need a major bump to do it. Sullis just plays it slow. I don't even know what happened between Dylan and rotation there. Just an awkward 1v1.
All right, multi-goal lead reinstated, but still a lot of time on the clock. We saw what happened last time. Daytona State grabbed themselves a multi-goal lead. Kennesaw were quick to respond with the kickoff strat. Aggressive cheat, bump up front. That's something they've got in their playbook for moments like that. Let's see what they've got now, turning the page on that next set piece, but unable to use that kickoff to any sort of success against Daytona State right there. Now they rely on their transition game.
Grenovi off the corner looking for a little bit of Geo-esque in this game 3, but will not find it. Dylan, room in this corner to go to work, but it should be a free follow-up for Smooth. We haven't seen him really come into his own yet in this entire tournament. Looked great yesterday, but didn't look like he was going to control the game because that's how well Geo was playing. And as of the way this series rolls, it might be the same thing. That one right there could have been a solid shot, but it is just barely missed. Blitz looking for a reset, finally gets the one he was looking for so long ago. Grenovi gets one as well, but didn't have to do much with it. It's just an awkward read from Daytona State.
That was a weird one. Flitz here, he gets the reset to pop over Smooth, and Grenovi, with the undercarriage of his car, just somehow places that ball in the perfect spot. I mean, there's not much you can do about that. You can see the smiles on the Daytona State side. They realize that's not a situation that's they can really bank on themselves to find a read in. They just got bested by Crow right there. Again, Kennesaw State finding these savvy goals to stay in game 3.
Blitz no boost will open up a lane for Dylan to go ahead and get to work. Sullis off the side wall, met by Grenovi, again, who has been incredible in the midfield this series, has really kept Kennesaw out of some miserable situations. 90 seconds to go now. If there's any team in this event you don't want to give momentum, I would argue Daytona State and probably Bruton Parker JV are the top two you don't even want to get near in terms of giving them room to succeed. Dylan will try and make something happen with that point, but it ends up in Geo's hands going all the way downfield, and KSU's got to reset.
Oh, Grenovi beats one, gets the touch on the second as well, and that plays the ball out of full control of Sullis. He is forced to fight for it with Dylan, and actually he succeeds. Sullis now is DSC playing some offense here late in game 3, but can they hold on to possession? Big question mark right now as Kennesaw State are moving that line of scrimmage into the midfield, but still can't gain full control of the ball. Now they're the ones that have to fight from behind late and see what sort of clutch factor they've got here in game 3.
Great boost grab so far from Daytona State, but again, Kennesaw still find a way to jump into this series and to keep this possession. However, Sullis could have a chance there, but again, Grenovi continues to bail his teammates out. Sullis and Smooth will work together. Smooth still has enough boost to go again. Is Geo in the area? That he is.
Careful.
3 players from Kennesaw getting really awkward now. There is not a single sliver of boost on the orange half.
And if there was, that was going to be an easy, like 3-on-1, 3-on-2 transition for Kennesaw State, but they didn't have the resources to punish. Daytona State getting very aggressive, keeping in that confident mindset. Could come back to bite them, as now it's a 1-on-1 Dylan versus Geo, but Geo wins out, and in the waning moments of regulation, that is a very important stop as Kennesaw State have to fight on 0 seconds, and with a center ball, no one is there for the Owls, and Daytona State close out game 3.
Right play from Flitz, you have to pop it out. Now, granted, maybe would have liked to be a little more powerful, but I cannot believe that nobody was ready for it or able to play it. But also, it goes to show that when you talk about these ball touches, when you talk about the boost conservation and the boost stealing, Daytona State, a much more controlled game in terms of the boost, but also, I would argue, even though the numbers don't say it, I think very well versed in the efficiency of their production and their touches as well.
Yeah, I mean, DSC, they really are finding their footing here in this first round of bracket play. And you do get 2 lives with a double elim bracket here, but man, you don't want to use your first one in the first round of play. At least get a shot at the higher seeded Winthrop in that next round. But man, right now, Daytona State looking cleaner than they started. Same can be said for KSU. It's good to see everyone getting their land legs underneath them for day 2. The caffeine maybe kicking in finally. The scrim's finally taking hold. But man, that puts Kennesaw State now down in a situation where they have to win 2 straight against the Daytona State team that's hitting shots like we saw Geo hitting out of the corner.
And they reverse swept before, though, and they could do it again. But we also said the same thing about WCTC, then it was a 1-goal game that called it. So are we in that territory? Absolutely. Is it still in the morning? Is it upper bracket? Also, absolutely. So teams aren't fighting with full adrenaline yet, but I would argue with how the bracket goes and the fact that only grand finals is tomorrow, you've got to get hot and you've got to get active right here, right now. Show some urgency, KSU.
We saw it from Daytona State after Geo especially hit that corner shot, and that's why it's so nice to have such a mechanical pop-off guy like a Flitz, like a Geo on your lineup. And you know, anyone in this lobby can pop off with the mechs, but those are the guys that do it the most consistently. Those electrifying goals that really get the comms going. They get you excited to see your teammate doing that, and Daytona State still seem to be feeding off of that. Now, still very cohesive. The passing game has stayed strong, and it's so odd to see a team passing cleaner than their they're shooting. Daytona State are great at connecting those infield passing plays, but the shots aren't great, and Kennesaw State still can't punish that.
And again, Kennesaw continued to double commit. They got really awkward on defense, and all of a sudden, Dylan almost gets a great touch, and it actually was on the shot, but the 50 will not find its way on net. A minute in, and it was all Daytona State, but Kennesaw only gets a few good shots, and that's all it took for them to start this pressure. However, here comes Daytona State all over again, but man, this Kennesaw rotation, it's really scaring me now.
Oh, Dylan, he's had a chance there.
Shot.
Potential 1v2. Really got off the ground quick after landing to find some balance, but still, it's not enough to beat the last man of DSC, and now Gio gonna take another shot from the corner. That one much lower to the ground, but still almost as effective, but doesn't end up scoring, and so we've got another scoreless first 90 seconds of game 4. You can feel the tension rising.
Solis on net, it's wide open, but it's just barely too high, and that one's gonna sing. He's gonna smile and laugh it off because he knows Smooth is there, but neither one of them are able to find that one. So here comes the counter, Flitz over one, but will pay for it with his life. But man, Daytona State, I mean, you've got a chance to destroy the egos and the confidence of Kennesaw. You've got to get one through.
If there was a guy to miss that open net, it's probably good that it's Solis. He can laugh it off the best on that DSC side, but you still want a goal eventually, and Smooth just whiffed. He does make up for his mistake, but man, as soon as we start talking about the consistency being found on land for these two here in bracket play, it falls away.
Solis trying to dive onto that ball. Very egregious, very bold. But hey, if you were studying VODs yesterday, that's how WCTC put the nail on the coffin against Kennesaw. However, you can't just let that ball sit midfield. You can't let Dylan try and get something going. Smooth will get a free ball off of it after Solis bumps him off. Smooth has a teammate. Kronovi in an awkward spot. Could be a follow-up. Smooth wants to go off the side wall. Gio's there. Wants to bump. Double tap opportunity. Smooth is there as well. Double fit for Kennesaw. Will bump two players in the middle of the play there. Kronovi going to try and find a redirect, but is met by Smooth. Again, Kennesaw struggling to find more offense, but they only need a few shots, and they're arguably getting better shots right now at times.
Yeah, those solo first-man carries of Kennesaw State are being countered well by DSC, and after that, I'm not sure the KSU boys know what Plan B is. They keep trying to force it through a stacked Daytona State roster, and they're getting back in defense quick. That's tough to get through when you're trying to play through numbers individually. So Kennesaw State, they've got half chances, but nothing really taking shape in that blue end. But fortunately, their defense has stepped up to the occasion here in game 4. They're finding a lot of good stops.
Daytona State rotation's looking great right now. Second man made a few good plays there, but again, of all the players to control the pace of Kennesaw's defense, Dylan has done a great job with Kronovi in the midfield this game to try and keep things at bay. However, 90 seconds left, still scoreless. I don't like the way this feels. If you're a Kennesaw fan, that one's pitched all the way downfield. It's just barely off, and Dylan almost finds a counter out of it. Gio is there to make a quick turn on it and might be uncontested if he moves quick enough. However, Kronovi is all over it.
Yeah, tough first touch. Kronovi really read that touch from Gio perfectly, and it gives Kennesaw State another half second in offense, but nothing more than that. They still have to scrap for every little bit of possession in the DSC end, but Smooth's off the backboard. That was a risky jump from Smooth, trying to play alongside his captain. It ends up panning out. More good reads off the back line. Both teams at least playing defense fairly consistently, but here comes Flitz, beating multiple players, centering the ball, but not getting Solis off the ground. Again, the captain from DSC does well in defense.
Dylan off the wall quickly around 2, has room to go to work, has Flitz as well. He finds the double, and now Dylan's getting loud. Things are getting scary for the other side.
We weren't hearing those pop-offs at the start of this series from Kennesaw State when they were scoring. It was DSC getting loud when they would put the ball in, but KSU, it was business as usual. Maybe a bit too lackadaisical, but now they've got the energy flowing. Dylan's feeling good about that go-ahead goal, and now with 45 seconds left, Game 5 could be looming unless Daytona State do something about it.
40 seconds left, still plenty of time for either team to try and write this game done and dusted. However, Gio isn't going to be able to find a shot just yet. 30 seconds to go now. Solis faking out Flitz, wants the bump, but actually doesn't get it. It's the second man who has to get it. Gio's able to jump right back up, though. Dylan's by himself. Smooth's already up, but Dylan gets right back to it. Flitz, full boost, met by Solis, but neither player finds a great touch. 15 seconds now. Here comes Daytona State.
Oh, double commit on the 50-50. Flitz is backwards, but no one immediately challenged for DSC. Still, though, a shot rings out, and Kronovi collects it on the goal line. Great recovery from Crow. Now Flitz off the backboards, able to clear a lot of mounting pressure as DSC mount another last-second potential comeback to force overtime, but this one falls flat again. Kennesaw State, by the slimmest of margins, send us to Game 5.
Well, I don't know what you can ask for this early in the morning. Some like their eggs scrambled. I like my Rocket League to go to Game 5, and that's what we're doing this morning. And what a pull-up performance from Flitz. This is what we were waiting on the entire time. He's led his team in possession, and even when Kennesaw struggles the most with possession, all series, which by the numbers is this game right here, they find the most efficient touches, the most efficient clears, and Flitz does what Flitz does best, score the dang ball.
Yeah, I mean, late in this series, with a lot of us skipping breakfast, we're still eating good here early on at Dreamhack Atlanta. I mean, the goals that we are getting now that everyone's starting to get a bit more comfortable this early in the morning, the Geo corner shot, the Flitz go-ahead goal late in Game 4 off the backboard. That's what we expect from these two teams when they're playing close to their A game. And it's tough to get to your A game on land, fair enough, but if you can find those A game moments, then you can stay alive in a series like this. And we got that in Game 4 from Kennesaw State. The last second saves on their goal line to keep themselves afloat. The last minute goal to force Game 5. Now, what do we get on Champions Field?
Well, with the new map rotation, we got to see some new faces, but Champions Field is also familiar at this event. Flitz on Champions Field is also familiar at this event. One of our best calls probably ever was Dreamhack Atlanta, the very first Collegiate Invitational in 2024, and Flitz calls game on Champions Field, Game 7 against Bruton Parker. I'm getting deja vu today.
They were on the orange side too. That blue goal is where all that action unfolded. We were really limit testing those microphones at the end of that grand finals. So let's see if Flitz can rekindle some of that magic from a year and a half ago against a team like Daytona State that can win in Game 5. They've had some woes that they've learned from, but man, if Flitz is making plays like that, it might be all woes for DSC.
Especially if Flitz doing it on both ends. I mean, again, I will restate it. Kronovi has been perfect in the midfield. Makes all the right touches, all the right 50s. It's what you expect out of a veteran with that composure and that experience. But Dylan has also stepped up in many key ways in the midfield. But if Flitz as well is stepping up on defense, then Kennesaw might not get scored on ever again.
Up in the air, Crows playing this sidewall. Gio's ready for it, but didn't have the boost necessary to make good on that read. Sullis, though, with some boost and a reset, can make good on a lot of Daytona State effort on the goal line. He collects his last man, fakes the mittens off of Flitz, and scores on a semi-open net.
Game 5, Champs Field, Arsenal reset around Flitz. I think that's a dream start for Daytona State in the first minute of play. However, it only gets harder, and if anyone's going to try and play their way around a few, you can trust Kronovi to do exactly that. Doesn't find that last touch off the backboard, and here comes what I think is Daytona State, but they're slow and easy.
High and low, DSC trying to outread Kennesaw State in the midfield, and actually works out. Scott Smooth on the ball now with a reset backboard, but Flitz, he's seen that play a time or two. He stays at home and collects a crossbar level, setting up Kennesaw State for a relatively stable defensive stand here. They've got boost in hand, but it is starting to dwindle. Flitz has to be big here in the corner, at least gets the read, and Dylan, they're right with him, at least postponing Daytona State's next shot for a little while longer.
Kronovi had all day and night to make sure he got to that ball as well. So Daytona State, a team that very rarely will start to slow down. But again, early in the morning, one goal lead. You're playing what is technically an upset on the larger scale of things, even though Kennesaw is technically the 5 coming into this one. So how do they play this? How safe do you want to go? Smooth with a very dangerous touch midfield, but Gio's able to bail it out.
Dylan versus Gio. It's a 50-50 that stays pretty neutral. Sullis can't do much with this, so he fakes it for Smooth. More great communication on the DSC side, but Kennesaw State find a stop, and now it's off to the races. Kronovi in the corner, can't grab that corner 100 from DSC's end. It's Gio that ends up getting it, and he can do a lot with boost in the skies. Flitz keeps the ball out of DSC's stars' hands right now. It's Gio having a lights-out series. Sullis maybe taking over in Game 5, but that's the thing with DSC. It's literally any 3 of them that could pop off at any given moment.
Sullis trying to do exactly that, but there's 3 owls just waiting in the nest and able to get that one up and out. Smooth as well is up and out of this play. Gio dunked up and out of that one. Kronovi's going up and down all around to try and keep Kennesaw into this one. However, Flitz can find a double, was barely bumped off, and that's just enough. Dylan, follow-up shot, does get around 1, but Gio's able to keep this ball calm, cool, and collected, but the ball does remain in the midfield. Flitz up and over 1, does find Smooth. This ball will remain in the blue half, but that shot or pass, it's neither, and it won't work. That one's off as well, and Daytona Daytona State surviving by very, very thin margins.
Kennesaw State, not owls right now, but vultures. They could see some roadkill starting to form on the road, but Daytona State just playing dead. Quickly, they get back to life in transition. Send a shot off the crossbar. That's a warning shot for what's to come. Smooth, double, no good. Stop by Dylan.
And Kronovi as well, trying to get that one off of his own corner of his net and out. They both combine for a good look, and Gio, once again, we talk about the curse that he almost has. He'll get right there, but this ball does not find its way into an insurance goal, and what would feel like an almost guaranteed dagger with the way this series has gone. Daytona State still looking for it.
Smooth with a big win right there. Will gain more space for the Daytona State offense. Going backboard again, Flitz at home this time, tossing the ball out wide to Dylan. He's got 20 boost in hand, but no ball to collect. And so Daytona State find another stop in transition, thwarting the attempts of Kennesaw State to get back in this game.
Room to go to work for Kronovi. A minute to go now. Daytona State, this is how you want this game to go. You want to set up shop. You want to set up camp in the Kennesaw half. Smooth gets the corner boost. You love the starving that Daytona State is doing. They've really flipped the script in some of these last few games. And Kennesaw, we talk about their efficiency. They haven't even gotten looks in general this game. But you need to find one. You need it now.
A slight pop out. Again, Kennesaw State trying to play around each other, but pass not quite as good as they had hoped. And that sets up Daytona State for an insurance policy with 26 seconds left. What a stuff by Gio into a setup from Smooth. Kronovi had no chance.
Their second man is always in the perfect place. This is what you love about this roster. They fully trust each other. Gio was basically in the Kennesaw net waiting for that one. Absolutely impeccable, but we're not done yet.
No, we are not. Kennesaw State still have some life in them, and Flitz on the ball, but not for very long. Smooth takes him out, so it's got to be, well, Dylan and Kronovi, I thought, but Flitz ends up recovering and trying to make good on his play that he started out. But with 10 seconds left, there's just no time for the Owls. It seems like Daytona State have come into a back-and-forth series against veterans of the Dreamhack Atlanta Collegiate Invitational, former champions of this tournament, and beaten them in Game 5.
Gio will call game right there and right now, and that's how you start your morning. A banger Game 5, and Daytona State, the 4 seed in our bracket, stay alive against a Kennesaw that is still searching for answers.
Man, Daytona State really shaped up after a shaky first game and a half, the back half of Game 2, into that 0-second equalizer, the overtime winner, despite good Kennesaw pressure in OT in that Game 2. Set up DSC for a big-time run. Now, straight into the outstretched arms of the potential kings of this tournament in Winthrop.
Who knows? And Winthrop also got a bye because we don't have an 8th team at this event. So they're going to be maybe cold, but I mean, they're cold as many teams hot.
Yeah.
So on that note, I want to make sure we do thank all of our lovely supporting parties. So first off, for those of you just joining, DJ TJ and Mr. Bevick back once again in Atlanta. We welcome you to the stream. There is also a very good Valorant matchup at Esports GA Tech on Twitch. That's Esports GA Tech. Right now the score is 9-7, and it is also what I believe is Georgia Tech and Charlotte going at it right now in brackets. So a little bit of a regional matchup. Both teams who also were looking for answers in their group play as well. Charlotte finished 3rd, Tech finished 2nd. So be sure to go check them out as well. But last note you want to add, my friend, before we try and get out of here?
Dude. Look at this. Look at this crowd that formed around that Game 5 that we've got here in the tournament area. I mean, this is what the LAN is all about. This is what I was missing yesterday. I mean, day 2 of the tournament, everyone's showing out. They know how important bracket play is on LAN. This is where legends are made, right in the middle of one of the biggest North American gaming conventions that are out there. We even got Manny just hanging around here, playing on his DS.
3DS.
Dude, you taking pictures? All right, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, little DSI stuff. That's what I'm talking about. All right. I mean, that's what LAN is, TJ. This is why we all come out to the Collegiate Invitational every time we get the call.
Oh, we are lucky. We are fortunate to be here, and it's only just the start. We've got our entire Rocket League bracket outside of Grand Finals will happen today. So I don't care if you go eat. I don't care if you come back later. I don't care if you watch now. You are going to want to keep your eyes glued to any screen possible all day for more Rocket League action. It's been Bepic. It's been DJ TJ. We'll be back in a second.
Impossible. We love that word. It's a challenge to explore the unknown, to sculpt the skylines, to map the human mind, and propel humanity to the edges of Earth. At Georgia Tech, we are determined to forge a better tomorrow because the world is counting on us. Impossible. It's not just a challenge, it's a calling.
Welcome back to Dreamhack Atlanta. We've got more Collegiate Invitational action about to unfold. The winners semifinals about to kick off, and we have sent Daytona State off to play Winthrop on the upper side of the bracket. That's going to be a tough one for DSC, but they took a game off of them yesterday, so maybe there's some hope for the underdogs. But on the lower side of the upper bracket, Carson, we've got ourselves a banger. WCTC undefeated yesterday in groups, taking on a Bruton Parker College team that is no stranger to this tournament.
Yes, obviously this Waukesha County team is from a place where they're the 5th smallest school in the county. Madison then ends within that place in Wisconsin. I believe they're one of the farthest teams we have here, at least the farthest for Rocky League. I know we've got Santa Monica for Val, but either way, we saw that team yesterday take 3-0 off Kennesaw State, and they were no slackers. This wasn't a real feeling of this kid can't do this. This is a real team that has a lot of real talent and is ready to take the world by storm.
I mean, they're in a similar boat, I think, to a team like Daytona State, with names that aren't exactly household names yet in CRL, but this team has experience. They've played on plenty of lands, and they've got mechanical ability. They've got rank B players, rank B plus players on their team that can make a difference in a tournament like this. And so WCTC flexing that yesterday. Now they got to do it in bracket play, where they got a warm-up against Bruton Parker Orange, who did forfeit that series, but we still played it. And so it's basically a scrimmage for WCTC going into now a very difficult match against the A team.
Yeah, and obviously that Bruton Parker lower squad is a completely different animal when you go back to the higher team in that Barons system. But for Waukesha County, I mean, what you saw in that Owl matchup yesterday, where you had the two teams on that other stage, I mean, look at Dimitri. Look at how good this team can be. Yeah. Dimitri, I mean, the freshman, we saw no Zens yesterday outside of him, and he had 4 in one series.
Well, let's get this thing started, shall we? Let's book one of these teams' spots in the upper bracket finals. Takes a win and a best-of-5 to get there, and shots a little bit lower than that. That's more like it, but the rebound opportunity for Bruton Parker cleaned up by Dimitri, the newest member of this WCTC lineup, and you know, he is a very effective instrument, despite his only starting with this team this spring semester.
I've replaced TJ here, obviously, but something you mentioned earlier, yesterday, about this Waukesha Tech team is that they are very, very good in the air. They're very aggressive. They're always going to pre-jump. It's something that they are very prevalent on. They go back in front. They're just going to continue to get chances and will stay so aggressive the entire matchup. They are not going to give you any space, any room to be comfortable. It's never slow with these guys. They make the pace so high. An interception on the other end. Dimitri, another fantastic play.
Already finding impact on the defensive side of the ball and now punishing mistakes in offense with a crazy little ground double there. That's an impressive read, punishing an antics whiff on the backboard of Bruton Parker. And the Barons are going to have to look cleaner than that if they're going to get out of this series alive.
I mean, it is absolutely spectacular. Immediately, Neeks has to go into that right corner. It is barely misses. Ty trying to intercept at that middle portion. So much offensive pressure from Waukesha Tech. They're not looking for just one chance, but obviously those interceptions, anything they can find in the offensive zone is good enough for them. You'll see there, it gets very dangerous on that other end.
Oh, big demo. That was an opening for Bruton Parker that still stays open. A huge demo sets up BPCU to find themselves an answer as Dimitri just paves a path for antics. That's a great thought for WCTC, but Bruton Parker had numbers.
Yes, Calm Turtle 131 is better known as Cass to a lot of viewers here. The assist there. Just make sure that is known that is not Calm Turtle 131. You're not seeing a new player for this Bruton Parker squad.
He's always Calm Turtle at Dreamhack as he's playing on his Epic account here. But yeah, very much the same Dutch player that we've come to know and love over the course of the last several semesters of his playing for Bruton Parker. They call him the Stroop Man over at BPCU. And I don't know what that means for his play on the pitch, but it's too good a nickname not to shout out.
Well, I mean, you got Stroop Waffles on planes, and he's a high flyer. Cass in front, nearly gets that pinch to go. Milk will move that back to the corner, but again, Waukesha without any resources, still going for offensive chances, always putting pressure on as Dimitri intercepts that at the middle with a teammate. Xantix gets a good pinch to try and make a play there, just kind of saw it off, awkward situation, and went too fast towards him. Ty in the other end, one-on-one in front of the goal. Meeks putting it back towards that center portion. Nobody there to collect as Ty able to put it back in the offensive zone as another Bruton Parker player commits to offense a little early.
Oh, Neeks had an open backboard for a moment, but Antics comes streaking even with no boost to make a stop on what would have almost been a guaranteed double tap considering how WCTC been playing this weekend. Dimitri still could find an opening to find impact with his car control, trying to connect with Ty. Unable to get the ball to his captain. Now Neeks has let the ball go. Cass has an open net to shoot and a score on. The Barons find themselves in front.
Nobody there. It is a very good interception, as that is just a fortunate play there. Neeks just leaves it in the air for no real reason. There's nobody gonna come around on that other end, and it's gonna be a goal every time with Cass, who's just like a hawk out there. Complete and utter decimation on that goal. I mean, it's a rough one to go.
Well, Neeks has a chance to make up for his mistake, and this is much better ball control. The reset going all the way to the backboard of Bruton Parker, where they were set up to clear and start a transition. Milk, he's getting antsy. Wants to get on the scoreboard in stellar fashion, but was just a bit high with that quick double read. So, Cass collecting off the sidewall now, trying to play it right at that blue net himself. Forces a double commit off to clear a path potentially for Antics, who never ends up committing his third man.
Bad place to be against Dimitri, who was so good in the air, but there's two defenders. Counter that, Bruton Parker still in their defensive zone as Ty trying to control up to the corner, set up spike, but it won't go as Ilka is able to go back into that corner and move forward again. Calm Turtle, Cass into that end, going forward over the crossbar, and his teammate can't reinforce. Cass, the only one back on the other end, just has to push it wide as nearly goes bad off a crossbar miss.
And I don't know how that ball came off the goal line with that much force. That prevented a rebound opportunity for Bruton Parker to potentially make it 3 against the WCTC defense is getting a bit spread thin at the moment. Fortunately for him, though, Dimitri will fuel up in the corner, has 100 boost to work with, but still is unable to use it to any kind of success. It's Ty and Neeks that are trying to work their way out of defense, but Dimitri at the end of the play that will find the biggest impacts.
Challenging them in the middle is obviously the game plan for Bruton Parker, and they've done a very good job constantly throwing it towards that sector. In a freestyle kind of play, you're kind of just going for a breakdance in that middle sector. Antics, good interception towards the middle. It'll lead to Milk having another shot on net, but Neek's able to miss, goes back on. What a play from Milk! Takes one miss, pinches the other.
All right, Milk has come to play on land. I told you he was going to be antsy, not getting on the scoreboard early on in this series. So he makes his own luck. 1v2 right there on the near side post, and that's what you want to see from the Milkman.
He just spoils the chances of winning there potentially as very distant hammer. Putting maybe a final nail into a coffin here. We've obviously seen bigger comebacks. In the words of Jeff Buckley, it's never over in Rocket League. So you get to that final buzzer. We've seen so many teams, especially in this tournament, especially this year, come back in these last few moments. Dimitri with a freestyle attempt. Can't get anything, though, after that reset.
Well, Antics can kill a lot of time. That scoop might do so. He adds a strong springboard flick onto it, setting Milk up for a double tap. If he's hitting early on, WCTC might be in for a world of hurt as he's being fed by his teammates right now in the closing moments of game 1. It doesn't really matter for the Barons. They were just killing clock, didn't need goals, but that feels like a warning shot going forward. The fact that Milk is being set up for these difficult shots to hit, and he's putting them right on net.
Yeah, 3-1 is definitely a score that didn't feel like it was as, it felt a little less close than that. We could have easily seen 6-1, 5-1. Waukesha Tech really struggled defensively the entire way through.
Yeah.
Not a lot of saves coming for them that really worked out, and a lot of great shots by Bruton Parker, who went a lot on those kind of upper backboard double taps that Waukesha Tech doesn't seem like they have the aerial capabilities to deal with just because of how they play defense. They've always kind of got one guy back, one guy always not really cherry picking, but ready to go. And so you leave a little bit extra space for Bruton Parker to work. And guys like Cass and Milk, it's just freestyle city, and they're having a very good time. I mean, that easily could have been way worse than 3-1.
And even with that sort of positioning that you were referencing from WCT's defense, that would normally set you up for strong counterattacks. Having a guy as a quick outlet option, maybe set up a one-on-1, one-on-2 to create space. But even that really didn't find much success for WCTC. I mean, only 5 shots in that game. They were not producing a lot of offensive chances for themselves, and that is due in large part to Bruton Parker staying stable on the backboard, on the goal line, wherever they had to be. And that is a staple of Bruton Parker's game. They are probably the most consistent team in all of CRL at playing their game and beating the teams they should be beating, and you know, sometimes never beating the teams that they would need to beat to advance up in the power rankings. But as because they are very strong when it comes to their cohesion as a backline, their defense is solid, and they can hit hard when they're on. But Bruton Parker need to find a kind of a second gear. You gotta really show what they did in game one all of the time in offense. That was an effective attack.
Hand it off to Milk back in that corner, goes for a right side shot, but Ty able to collect it before it has any chance on. 4 minutes and 30 seconds remaining, and you mentioned it's a team that is looking to improve their ceiling. Milk with the one time off the crossbar into that corner now again, as Cass giving it back to Xantix, who's just going to dump it in. Let Waukesha Tech deal with it on a long shot. Goodness gracious, just enough space, just enough reaction time to keep that one going. But Waukesha Tech still in the offensive zone. Very aggressive as you're seeing here, but well handled by Bruton Parker to just keep dumping it out, waiting till they have the resources to deal with it.
APC, you are already in triple threat mode. Everyone is making those advanced level touches that'll throw off a defense, beat multiple members of that back line, and Bruton Parker have found chances already as a result of that. Here's potentially another one as Anthix finds a big pop up, but neither Cass nor Milk are able to jump up for it quickly. WCTC at least holding firm enough when it comes to their box, but everything else they're giving up a lot of space in. That midfield is Bruton Parker's, and even the beginning of their offensive third belongs to the Barons. So if they can keep that up, this first goal is not an if but a when.
Mentioned consistency and kind of this team being close to its ceiling, I think, is a big thing, as Bruton Parker trying to surpass that and show that they have more. They're very consistent at the top of what could be their game, though. Neeks into the offensive zone, they push it left. Back again, you're just seeing so much middle contention from Bruton Parker, knowing that if Waukesha Tech is uncountered, you go for a convoy goal here. Cass nearly goes right into it. Ran with it like it was a football. Goodness gracious.
Couldn't put it down in the try-zone, though. It looked like a play out of rugby straight up, and still, Dimitri, a little bit of room. Test taken away by Milk. Neeks now popping, and a one-on-one, actually making 2-on-1. Ty was helping out, but Cass, the one in that situation, comes out big. So no goals still, despite efforts on both sides of the ball. Now the WCTC have gotten their offense going. It was largely Bruton Parker to start, but Waukesha County really getting their offense online at the back half of Forbidden Temple.
How fast it's going, Waukesha Tech wishing they get a ruck here to slow it down if we're going back on the rugby puns, but Cass in that middle section has a lot of boost. Look for him to make Neeks miss here, who doesn't have anything left. It's Ty and goal. And all open, but it's going to be his teammate with the rebound, Xantix. To put it home, Bruton Parker up 1-0 with just over 2 minutes to go.
Everyone on the ball is looking like a threat for Bruton Parker. There it's Cass with the carry to open up the backboard for Anthix to dodge that demo attempts that WCTC were throwing at him, and then end up putting the ball in. That is really savvy from the Barons, and this is how they like to play Rocket League. Very slow, very composed, and right now they are reading the heck out of WCTC.
Yeah, this team just seems like it hasn't woken up, or maybe hasn't got the competition that they were hoping for immediately. Maybe just not fully in this one yet. Are the Owls? Gotta wonder at a certain point, you have to wake up, you have to start playing it, have to adjust. Dimitri with a long shot put away wide by Xantix back up top. Neeks to Dimitri, a one-timer won't get through.
Okay.
The second chance won't either. Tie. Can't put it past three Bruton Parker defenders. Kind of just standing there menacingly.
Yeah, playing toe ball on the goal line, just getting enough of the rock to prevent it from falling in. That felt like a surefire equalizer for WCTC. This might yet be. Neeks across the tie, but Anthix gets in the way. Barons are appearing at just the last second with these plays to thwart the attempts of the boys from Wisconsin. Cass now, a little antsy, jumping up quick to try and take that ball away from WCTC when the possession was firmly theirs. But it's not Bruton Parker with the onus of scoring on their shoulders right now. It's Waukesha.
To that corner, nearly goes top left for Dimitri. You see his reaction to that one. That was so close to a goal. He's been so close earlier. Doesn't have the touch that he did yesterday with it against Kennesaw State. Peeks into that other end, trying to find a way to push it. 50 seconds. Has that demo. It gets to the line, but again, another last-second save on that very goal line with 50 seconds remaining. Bruton Parker always willing to make that extra pass, and something you're noticing here is that they have just been doing a fantastic job all around moving the ball. rotating together. They are so cohesive in one unit that it is so difficult to beat their defense if you don't have it going. Ty gets a bump off, but nobody has any resources to help.
All right, Dimitri, what you got for us? Being harassed on the goal line, and he has to come up big because WCTC invested a lot of resources in that offensive, which makes sense. Final minute, down a goal. You want to start getting a little bit more aggressive than you have been playing, and Waukesha County are definitely capable of playing aggressive Rocket League. But Bruton Parker are swallowing them up right now in game 2. Ty's trying to break things open, find an escape route from Forbidden Temple, because right now Bruton Parker have the Owls caged. It'll have to happen on 0 seconds. Dimitri's the guy you want setting things up. He's heading after Antics, but Antics dodges the demo. That's how he scored the only goal we get in game 2, and it's how he closes the game out as well.
Clipped wings for this Waukesha Tech team that you're seeing is a very, very slow, not as quick as they were yesterday squad. Looking for more and more offensive chances. Dimitri leading that team with touches. I mean, only 29 for Ty, who is a distributor, had led the team in assists in their series yesterday in that 3-0 win. Need to do a better job getting the ball around. Need to do a better job making these passes less telegraphed. I mean, every basketball coach says it when you're 8 years old. You cannot have everything go right in the middle and go from side to side. It's always a one-timer. They're not doing anything different.
Well, tell it to Daytona State. That's how they like playing their offense. It looked good against Kennesaw in that last match. But yeah, WCTC are not able to play that style of offense against the Bruton Parker team that are very much comfortable just sitting there, clogging up the infield, making sure that plan A is not successful for WCTC. And I mean, even plan B, through the skies. Dimitri's not having a ton of success. Kind of like we saw him open up this series. He was looking effective in the air at the start of the set, but Bruton Parker did enough to get out of that game 1 without him having explosive impact, and then in game 2 completely stifled him. Ty and Neeks, I mean, even more so. They had even less impact than Dimitri in that game. They need to find a way through that Bruton Parker backline. I don't know who calls the shots for WCTC in between games, but they've got a puzzle to figure out now. They need 3 in a row to advance.
One thing that needs to happen, Dimitri needs to step up like he did yesterday. The primary goal scorer all the time. It just has not been able to find a shot on net. It's been very close, Dimitri, going for an interception. Had that 1 goal in the first game, has yet to score since that 2-1 loss. But again, just so detrimental. They can't get that way into the middle. But once they get shots like this, it can go so well. Dimitri waiting for a chance for it to open. It never does. But again, tie into that corner. But one time for Neeks. Worm burner. Can't get through as Dimitri puts it back into the other side to Cass.
Worms harmed for nothing opening in game 3. WCTC at the very least getting opportunities to score, but again, Bruton Parker looking composed. I mean, even there, Milk buys so much time for his teammates to get boost and advance with him by that extra little scoop, that savvy notion of where WCTC are trying to attack him from and how he can counter that himself on the ball. That's how all 3 members of Bruton Parker are controlling this game. They look so scary, and not in the sense that they are rapidly taking space and scoring high-flying goals against WCTC, but the fact that they are individually out-challenging them all throughout this set.
I mean, you'd think there is a horror panel right here at Dreamhack with how good this defense has been. How terrifying it is to get through that line, but that's a big demo, could open some space, but again, no capitalization. They're not close enough together. They're running the spread offense. Can't get that slant across the middle, though. Can't find any open room. How Bruton Parker, they're kind of playing man-to-man here. As Milk has that top shot, and he nails it. 1-0 lead for Bruton Parker. If Waukesha Tech can't find any offense like they have been, that might be it.
Cass just owned Dimitri right there, straight up. The little pop like he's going to fly out to the side to catch, looking like he's going to pass, and then he just keeps it himself, cuts it behind Dimitri, who committed too far towards the sidewall, playing that passing option of Bruton Parker, and then eventually that Cass outplays first man, sets up the score at the end of the play. It's in slow motion, but that's how locked in Bruton Parker are right now. They are seeing everything as it's happening, 5 steps in advance, and now they've got a 2-goal advantage in here in game 3.
We saw the flaming skull there, but we had Bikini Bottom prior on that other goal, and it's looking like Bikini Atoll. Bruton Parker's offense feels nuclear at this point. They are doing a very good job now playing to what Waukesha Tech is trying to do, which is back passing into very long, looping aerial opportunities. They had a lot of shots off of that face-off, but again, Bruton Parker, to their credit, the Barons have done great on the face-offs. Everything they have been doing is just exactly. They did scouting, and you can pretty much tell.
Yeah, you talk about our trip to Bikini Bottom it took a minute ago. I mean, it feels like the Squidward looking out of the blinds on SpongeBob and Patrick having a great time. If you're WCTC, you're locked in right now, not having any fun with this game. Yes, you've had some moments to potentially pop off. You got the 1 goal in game 1, but outside of that, this has to be a miserable best of 5 to be playing, because this is what Bruton Parker looks like when they're at their best, when they don't have to rely on just demos, but can trust each other and their individual ability to absolutely stifle a team.
Yeah, it feels like you're boxing and you haven't gotten a hit in yet, and you're in round 5 at a certain point, but Ty forward again. Just too many Bruton Parker players there. They're not getting as aggressive on the defensive side, which is what is leading them to their success. They are just waiting to the very last moment because they know that shot is going to be able to telegraph. Milk will try and put it on. Barely, as you mentioned, goes wide. Fantastic from Cass as well, who is going to have an opportunity to move us into the offensive zone as he makes another miss, and Neek's going for Ty now, and a great basically toe drag is intercepted by Ty as it pushes away, and 2 defenders chase after.
This is a chance, real opportunity for Neeks and Ty. Neeks had his card just close enough to the ball to get an extra nudge on it to take away the interception that Milk was playing for. And Ty and Neeks, they've got a lot of reps together. These guys, friends outside the game as well as inside. And you saw the chemistry right there, the trust in each other. And I was going to set up the point of what does WCTC have to do to get back in this series. And that's the sort of play I was going to pitch. Someone stepping up on the ball to then play alongside a teammate that trusts in an opportunity. You have to kind of go all in for these chances like Ty and Neeks did right there. It was an aggressive dive, but they get rewarded.
Not even a car length between the 4 players that are on that. With a minute and 20 seconds to go, the Owls need to find a way. The wings have been clipped all day. They've got a really good opportunity playing Convoy. A fantastic defensive chance. Return on the rebound. 2-2 tie.
It's actually a 3-on-1 in transition here. Antics, I think, in Milk we're watching as the ball raced towards the goal line. Cass gets sniped, blown to smithereens, setting up a WCTC rebound. It did take an extra skip off the woodwork before falling in, but hey, Ty is good for the shot out of the corner, and just like that, we're tied.
If I was a Waukesha County player and oh my goodness, this could go the other way entirely if Dimitri got there. Excuse me. I'd be sick to my stomach if that one off the post was the only chance they got there, but they get the rebound. They'll have to get through this game, though. They have to, I mean, they're tied only. They have to get a win here to stay alive in the upper portion of this bracket. Engling in front. They're not as aggressive, but Dimitri makes a miss on that one. They'll be able to move it at least a little wide as Ty's able to pick it up back into the air with 45 seconds remaining. A pinch into the offensive zone. Nearly there. Those pitches led to 2 own goals against Kennesaw State for that Waukesha County team. And Neeks keeping it in towards net. They try and beat 2 players, have a little bit more resources. Boost still going well for 2 between Dimitri and Neeks, but there's nobody back! An interception and a goal for Bruton Parker.
Dimitri's got his head in his hands right now. He's looking at the rafters of the Georgia World Congress Center right here. He is not pleased with no one being back right there. I didn't catch whose job it should have been, but that's a rough one to give up. But WCTC don't have time to dwell. They have to recover now. 27 seconds left, and they need a score. A lot of fakes on that kickoff following the Bruton Parker go-ahead goal, but no one collects until WCTC get the chance on the ball for it's pinched away. Cass has a chance to put things out of reach for Waukesha County. Can't do it, and so it's off to the races now. WCTC with a center ball. A bump, a Neek shot, that's no good. Cass comes up big, and now the Stroop men can ice things, but the ball leaks out center. Ties off, he shoots wide. WCTC got an extra lease on life, but couldn't make good on it. They are swept into the lower bracket by the Barons of Bruton Parker.
Flashback if you're a Bills fan on that one. Wide right for that first shot for Waukesha Tech. Very rough feelings there for the Great Lakes representatives. Game 3, they go down 3-0. It was close at the end, but didn't wake up, it felt like, until the very last moments of that series. They'll go into lowers, but there's a lot to really take away from a Waukesha Tech team that you felt like was a lot more dangerous heading into this one. Excuse me.
They at least found a way to find a good couple of minutes in Game 3, and yeah, it did look dangerous coming into bracket play, but just weren't able to put it together for the majority of those games. Bruton Parker absolutely swallowed them whole, and yeah, I think that is a very fair MVP graphic. Cass going to get the most valuable player award for that series, not because he lit up the scoreboard or anything with his shots, but his setups were pristine. I think the best example of Cass's performance in this series was that fake pass out to the side where he collects the ball, faking Dimitri, forcing him to just overcommit into a defensive position that then put him in a bad spot for Cass's cut back, and his pass centered to Milk that ended up scoring. I can't remember which game that was. Feels like ages ago with how chaotic that last game got, but yeah, Cass deserved MVP.
I mean, you look at it there, I think it's misspelled because he was Cash every way through it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a little preferential to a guy who's got the same last name as his first name is my last name, so I mean, obviously very, very close. I spell it differently, but for the Dutch player there, he has been nothing but fine Danish pastry. Very good, sweet everywhere around. And you got to imagine with a playmaker like that, it's very hard for Bruton Parker to lose too often when they have things going. And you mentioned they have a very high ceiling. They don't have as high a ceiling as other teams, but they get very close to that ceiling all of the time because such good team chemistry, and that starts with the Dutch one in the middle.
They're going to have to raise their ceiling going into the winners finals, though, because I have to imagine Winthrop have booked their spot. We'll see if Daytona State ended up grabbing an upset, but we'll have updates there coming up in a little bit. But last point I do want to make on Bruton Parker, especially Cass, I think his performance here really great because he was the guy that came into the lineup that ended up raising the floor of Bruton Parker. Before he joined the starting three of BPCU, which has changed a good bit every single semester since he joined, but before that they were an underdog team that was trying to make a name for themselves at the very top, still losing to those scrappy like 33 through 48 rosters like a WCTC, like a Daytona State, but now they're beating them consistently, and we've got a signal that we've got brackets. Yes, all right, so we do have results, and it is Winthrop beating Daytona State. Nothing too shocking there, Carson.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you'd expect, unfortunately. A lot of bird matchups here. The Barons looking to ground anyone they can. Actually, literally everybody, by the way, in these brackets, except for Bruton Parker, is a bird mascot. I don't know, that's just a thing I noticed yesterday, but doing it anything they can to ground this Winthrop squad, which, you know, maybe it's just top 5 in the country. That's it. That's only it. You got to not look at who you're playing. You got to look at who you are and play your game the way you can. They took a game off it earlier, Daytona State, in the portions yesterday early. They were 9-1 yesterday, so you know, you just got to do what you can. You got to play the game you know you can play and try and meet them in grands if you can't beat them in winners. And if you beat them in winners, go beat them in grands.
Hey, Winthrop were heavy favorites for this tournament, just like West Virginia was at the last Dreamhack Atlanta Collegiate Invitational. We all know what happened with West Virginia. They got sent to the lower bracket and then ended up winning up the whole thing. So, you know, we'll hope that Winthrop are sent to lowers just like WV where you were if you're cheering for the underdogs. But Winthrop look like they're going to want to fall into this lower bracket. Conestoga getting that forfeit win down below. Kennesaw State a bye into the next round. And, yeah, Owls versus Owls action in the lower bracket, Carson. That'll be a good one.
The two birds of play will have the rematch after a 3-0 went very poorly yesterday for Kennesaw State, excuse me, as the Owls of Georgia will try and get their revenge. But how good they were playing yesterday, it's going to be dangerous unless this Waukesha County team does not wake up.
All right, well, I think it's break time. I think we got to get set for our next matchup on stream. As always, huge shout out to our partners, to JLab, to Dreamhack for even helping us put this on. And, you know, TJ won't do this while he's on camera, but shout out to DJ, Doja Frat, and TJ Stevens for organizing this entire thing on a much shorter timeline than normal. Took a lot to get this event together on such short notice. But it's time for a break. Everyone, rest up, get some snacks. It's going to be a long day here at the Dreamhack Atlanta Collegiate Invitational, so we'll see you in a bit.
Impossible. We love that word. It's a challenge to explore the unknown, to sculpt the skylines, to map the human mind, and propel humanity to the edges of Earth. At Georgia Tech, we are determined to forge a better tomorrow, because the world is counting on us. Impossible. It's not just a challenge, it's a calling.